welcome to our new YouTube channel. My name is Random Block and I'm very happy to be here today to commentate on our first video, which will be an introduction to demos and what we've been developing for the last 3 years. If you're new here, thank you very much for coming to look at our channel. If you're part of the long-term community, hopefully this serves as a bit of a refresher on what Demos is, why Demos has been created, and where we are going into the future. So I think this is a problem that affects everybody in the digital world. We all know that feeling where our digital life is scattered across different islands. We've got social media over here, you've got your work stuff in a different place, and your crypto wallets probably in several places, all scattered across your digital existence. And none of them really talk to each other. Well, today we're going to talk about Demos, and Demos' aim is to build bridges to connect all these systems and ultimately create one truly connected web. So how are we in this situation in the first place? The heart of the problem is pretty simple. The internet we use every day, we often know that as Web 2, and the new world of blockchains, we often call that Web 3, were built separately. And even in Web 3 itself, many of the chains in Web 3 have been built separately as well. Now all these worlds are incredibly powerful, but they operate like isolated digital islands where messages and value can't easily pass back and forth between each island. Just to make it really simple, think of it like this. We've got the regular world of websites, apps and social media on one side. On the other, we have all these different blockchains. And it's like having two totally separate railway systems built right next to each other. They each have their own unique tracks, their own trains, their own rules, and yeah, a train from the Web 2 system just can't run on the Web 3 tracks. It's impossible. So everything just gets stuck in its own island. And this isn't just a minor headache. It isn't something that developers just simply can work around. For you and me as actual users, it means things are cumbersome, things are clunky and complicated. It's why we have to juggle a lot of different tokens and wallets and chains just to do things. But ultimately, it means our favourite apps can never reach their full potential because they're cut off from valuable data that's living on the other islands. But what if we could build a new sort of railway, a meta railway that wasn't designed to replace the old tracks, but was built for one single purpose, to connect all of them together? Well, that's the idea behind Demos. The ultimate goal, the grand vision if you will, is something that we call the Omniweb. It's a single universal data layer that enables new digital experiences that can only be constructed by connecting different blockchains and web services by enabling data and value to flow seamlessly. And it's really important to understand that Demos is not a generalized blockchain. Our mission is to enable all other chains and webs to connect seamlessly. So that all sounds fantastic in theory, but let's get down to what Demos is and how it enables the Omniweb. Demos is a full stack solution. At the bottom, we've got the Demos blockchain. We've then got a variety of different transaction types that can take place on the blockchain to handle the interconnectedness of the network. And then on top of those transaction types, sit a series of features that enable us to bring this world together. And that's all wrapped in the Demos SDK, which then enables application developers or even the Demos team themselves to develop new applications that were never before possible. So let's take each one in turn. At the heart of the Demos blockchain itself is what we call the Decentralized Adaptive Architecture, or DAA for short. Now, this isn't your typical rigid system. It's designed to be alive, to be dynamic. It actually changes and adapts based on how busy the network gets, making sure things always stay fast, cheap, super secure, and always in a decentralized fashion. Now, there are three main core components of the DAA. The first one being the GCR, or the Global Change Registry. Think of this as the ultimate source of truth. It's a universal ledger that everyone can agree on. Then, to keep that secure, we use something called proof of representation, which is a very fair and clever way of choosing who gets to validate the transactions. And then finally, all of this is dynamic. With dynamic shard sizes, we can literally change the size of the validator groups in real time to handle sudden spikes in traffic. It might help if we kind of outlay how the transactions actually take place to kind of bring this to life for you, the listener. The user starts by sending their intent. They send a request to the network. Your transaction is checked by a small group of validators. That's what enables it to be super fast. It's then added to the GCR and recorded in the Global Change Registry, and then finalized through proof of representation, permanently confirming it to the consensus. So we're able to operate at speed and being hugely scalable because of the shards and the GCR, but decentralized and secure by still finalizing in the block. We're aiming to get the best of both worlds with the Demos network. And then let's look at some of the things that enables. So we talked about transaction types, and there's two transaction types I'll cover today. The third one I think everyone will get very quickly. So the first one being decentralized message passing. Okay, so we talked about the fact that these chains don't talk to each other. They're isolated islands. Demos enables you to pass messages between chains. So think of it as the parachain that sits above other chains. Okay, so you want to send a message from Ethereum to Solana. At the moment, that's impossible. Demos can facilitate that for you. So you send your message on Ethereum, that goes through the Demos ecosystem and then pops out an instruction to the Solana chain. And at the moment, we can support all EVMs and 10 alt layer ones. And we can do that with single hop or multi-hop transactions. As we see things like DeFi get much more complex, we are seeing a world where a single hop transaction is cool, it's good, but multi-hop transactions really start to mean you can do some really good things against things like DeFi protocols, for example. It also enables us to solve what we believe is a very big challenge in the market at the moment, known as the Oracle problem. We all know blockchains are amazing for secure transactions, but they're completely blind to the rest of the internet. They can't just go and check a sports score or a stock price on a normal website. And for years, the workaround for this has been something called an oracle. But Demos flips the whole oracle model on its head. Instead of having some service push data onto the chain every so often, Demos lets applications pull data from pretty much any web source whenever they need it, on demand. And it's all verifiable. It's actually a total paradigm shift. Let's put these methods side by side. The old way is centralized, it's slow, and it's limited. The Demos way is decentralized, it's instant, and it opens up native access to any API out there. It unlocks a whole new universe of what's possible on blockchains. And then we'll just touch on some of the key features for Demos as well. The first one being liquidity tanks. So we talked about the ability to have messages passing through different chains. Now, if we really want to transfer value between the chains, we need to be able to facilitate that value exchange. And we do that with something called liquidity tanks. Now, think of these as tanks of tokens that enable you to exchange between different chains. So at the moment, you can pass messages, but with liquidity tanks, we're able to facilitate the full value exchange across the Omniweb, providing a bridgeless means of transferring value across chains, with Demos being the facilitator of that value exchange. We're also future-proof with post-quantum cryptography. Now, you may not be aware of this, but there's a upcoming challenge to a number of blockchains. And that is that when quantum technology is available, there is a chance that your crypto will no longer be secure. Demos has already built in PQC algorithms. And what this means is, for teams that are building now or that want to switch now to quantum safe algorithms and signing, they're able to implement PQC into their dApps and applications, keeping their system and their users safe now and into the future. So what does this all unlock? We've got cross-chain messaging across hundreds of chains. We're able to connect Web 3 and Web 2. That means we're now able to execute complex logic across chains and Web 2. So we can have actions on chains that are driven by something that's happened in Web 2. Or we can have actions on chains that is driven by something that's happened on another chain. And we're able to transfer value with liquidity tanks. The whole chain is secure and future-proof, particularly with the advent of PQC. And really importantly for all you developers out there, it's in a simple to use TypeScript SDK and ready to be adopted right now. So where are some of the key challenges that we have been working on, that we are going to solve with the Demos network? We believe we have to lead people into the Omniweb, and we have to show some of the benefits that the Omniweb and Demos can provide to the digital society. First one being Demos identity. Identity that traverses all chains and webs. Because of Demos interconnectedness between all these different systems, you're able to build a digital identity that's persistent across all chains and all webs. Think of it as your 360-degree identity that follows you for verification and reputation purposes across all dApps and all apps. Your dApps that you're using on Solana can understand what you did on Ethereum, or your dApps can quite quickly understand who you are on Twitter, for example. And we see building these 360-degree identities becoming really, really important as we blend this world of Web3 and Web2. Crucially, the identities are decentralized and they're owned by the individual user. And very soon we will implement encrypted identities, meaning you can control who can see certain identities and who can't see certain identities, taking the power of identity away from these centralized services and putting it back in the power of the user in a really powerful way, because it's aggregated a number of your identities across the digital landscape that you use. So you can have hyper personalization for those services where you want to have hyper personalization, and you can really limit the access to information for other services where you don't want them to have your information. You have that control as the individual user. Very important in this modern digital world. Secondly, the Demos wallet. Okay, so the ability to transact across all chains and webs. In its simplest form, we know that bridging is complex and there's a lot of hacks and those sorts of things with bridges. But if we want to adopt billions of users, they're not going to use bridges. We need to be able to show them one wallet that can transact across all chains. Okay, and that's quite simply what the Demos wallet does. It enables you to abstract token balances across chains as well. Okay, that's going to be really, really important with the explosion of stable coins. Users, end users, particularly people that aren't crypto native, are not going to be interested, okay, in I've got this stable coin over here, I've got this stable coin over here, they sit on different chains. I want $1, okay, that I can spend anywhere. And the Demos wallet enables that. You may have stable coins sat on 5 different chains, okay, and they might be 5 different stable coin providers. With the Demos wallet, that will show to you as $1, and you'll be able to spend $1 across any supported chain. And again, we're leveraging the liquidity tanks to enable that value to flow seamlessly. It also integrates with the identity solution, so we can connect and verify using all the identities that you've connected. Say there's a DeFi application where you get additional benefits for your experience in DeFi, for example, for your reputation, or your wallet holdings. Through the identity solution, you can demonstrate that, and then that can play in to the way that you make transactions. And there's numerous different things we can start to do with identities and payments working in sync together. For example, social payments. We still use these long account numbers. Not great when you want to onboard 1 billion users. What about social payments? What about being able to pay with your Twitter account, or your WhatsApp account, or your Instagram account name, and people only knowing that name as the payment? They don't need to know the actual account that sits underneath that. So we've touched on some key areas. We talked about the Demos blockchain. We talked about 2 transaction types. We talked about Web 2 transactions and cross-chain transactions. We didn't talk about native transactions. Native transactions are generalized transactions on the Demos blockchain. Okay, so they are standard transactions that you would expect on any blockchain. So Demos can operate like that, and has that capability in its own right, although it's not a focus for Demos. And we talked about some of the features and how they work. We didn't cover all the features in this session, but we will do going forwards. And then, as I said before, that all rolls up into the Demos SDK. And there's a number of utilities that we're building and our partners are building. The first ones for us being identity and the Demos wallet. Just to give you a sense of where we are and the maturity of this solution, the areas in green on this map are available right now. The areas in blue are available in alpha phase. For example, the Demos wallet is actually, at the time of recording, the base version has been submitted to the various browser stores for them to approve the extension. And then the grey boxes or circles will be available in beta mainnet phase. We wholeheartedly believe the future is the Omniweb. And where are we going in the future? So we're currently in alpha phase. That is concluding with our node sale in September. There will be 500 nodes available for sale, and that's due to start on the 3rd week of September. Very limited. Initially only open to community, but there may be opportunities for a wider audience. Details to be available for that in early September. And then in Q4, that's when beta phase begins. We'll see some of these additional modules that I spoke about on the previous slide, CK, Activity Pub, FHE, also adding more chains and identities to the solution, with TGE and Demos mainnet launch scheduled for the end of Q4 or early 2026. We think the Omniweb is the way of the future. We're really, really excited about it, and we'd love for you to join us on this journey. Come and follow us at Demos XYZ. We'll have the socials in the description below. Thank you for taking the time for listening to me today. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.